to the Glenn Beck program. I just warn you, tonight, Jack came out with one box of Kleenex, for me, not for the audience, and he was carrying a stack, and he said, you want me to just leave all of them? Tonight is going to be a difficult show to get through, and I don't think because of the sadness of it, but I think because of the beauty that you are going to see, the miracles that you will see. This morning I woke up and I thought to myself, gee, I haven't seen any good propaganda lately. But thankfully, somebody on my research staff forwarded me this last night. It is a new song that is out. It's a song called Freedom for Palestine. And it calls for the West Bank security barrier to be toppled. It calls for human rights and justice for all. It is quite an amazing piece of propaganda. Truly, truly amazing. Its official release is in early July, but they're getting a nice head start now thanks to churches here in the U.S. Yes, churches are playing this song. A gospel choir helped make it, and they are being asked to play it all over the world. The biggest boost for this, however, came when the massively popular rock band Coldplay posted it on their Facebook page. You are going to start to see this song pop up everywhere. And make no mistake, it is propaganda. Good and evil, the lines are being blurred again. The posting received over 5,000 likes, and quite honestly, I hesitated to even tell you about this tonight on the show because I don't want to give it any more attention than is necessary. But it is important that we all know all sides, and we look evil in the eye. I don't know if any of these people understand what they're doing. I don't know if they really understand what it means to destroy Israel. I don't know if they've done their work on history and realize that in many cases they're being used as useful idiots. I don't know what their motivations are. I know that it is produced by One World, not to be confused with Van Jones and the unions here in the country that cry for one nation. This is different. They have made this because of the human rights abuse and living in crushing poverty in refugee camps and under Israeli occupation. Before you know it, Israeli occupation will be standard fare. Everyone will just see it as they're occupying that land. That is a lie. Organizations supporting this propaganda effort, Stop the War Coalition and Palestine Solidarity Campaign and Friends of Al-Aqsa. Now, all of these groups are supporters of the British Gaza flotilla, the Freedom Flotilla. This is evil cloaked in the message of liberation and freedom. This isn't about a new beginning for Palestine. This is about the end of Israel. And they are packaging it in a way that everyone can embrace if you're not paying attention. I saw this morning and I thought to myself, we are behind the curve here. On the Israel front, I honestly thought we were ahead of the curve, but we're not. I announced this 4 days before the president announced what he was calling for. And I thought we were ahead of the curve. We're not. And those who are looking for the destruction of Israel, quite honestly, have most of the artists in their camps. I'm putting a call out to anyone who might be waking up at this point, anyone in Hollywood, anyone with any talent. You must stand up and you must get involved. Good news. Some people already are. Some major people that don't have anything in common with me, in fact, I think probably hate my guts for my political views, are standing up. And we will have some major announcements coming in the next week or so. Some of the people joining us in Israel and some of the people joining us here in America. I will tell you this, that one of my employees today said in the early morning meeting, they said, Glenn, you can't have them. You can't stand next to them. They have bashed you for over 2 years. And I said, what part don't you understand? It's not about me or anything else. It is about being a shield. That's what this is about. being a shield. Will you be a shield for Jerusalem? Will you be a shield for Israel? In the end, what will be said of you? Everyone is welcome to be a shield and to stand up for the truth. Even Oskar Schindler didn't get it at first. We all have our different points of waking up. I know I've had mine. The world is lining up, and they are going to start pointing at Israel more and more. It's because of them. I was interviewed this morning on radio in WTAM in Cleveland, Ohio, and the host asked me, "Where is the outrage, Glenn?" I said, "I don't know. But I will tell you this. I know there are people waking up here in America, and the people in Israel are pretty wide awake. Not all of them, but a lot of them. This is before Obama's speech. I was there, and people were telling me that they felt they felt alone for the first time. And they feared that it was starting all over again. You know what? Let me speak directly to anybody who is in Israel. It's not going to happen again. There's enough that will wake up this time. And you're certainly not alone. Know that the administration and the past administration doesn't necessarily speak for the American people. There are a lot of Americans, millions of us, that stand with you. It has happened time and time throughout history where people will remain quiet. Not this time around. I ask you to join me in Jerusalem and pledge that you know who you are and you know where you stand. And if you can't go, then there's other ways you can support. You can organize people in your own neighborhood. You can reach out to a Jewish community center with your church, and you can get together, and work together and be together and get to know each other. You can go and get a wristband. You can get a yard sign. Do we have the yard sign? Show the yard sign. This is an idea I said this morning. We're going to make these yard signs. You can go to glennbeck.com and you can print that yard sign. Put it up. Go write a blog. Talk to your friends and your family. We just put a filter up for Facebook. For Facebook, you know how they did with free Iran and it was green? We've made one today. It's blue. I ask you to go to Facebook and put it there now. Take a stand. Do whatever you can to let people know where you stand. Annoy friends. Irritate a stranger if you have to. I guarantee you, whatever you're afraid of, that will pass. You will feel so much strength being who you are supposed to be, not who you've allowed yourself to become. And believe me, people have risked much, much more in the past. And tonight, you are going to see the results of their labor. Okay, Jack, we are glad you're here. Hello, America. I want to start with this phrase. He who saves a single life saves the entire world. It's from the Talmud. And it's what workers at Oskar Schindler's factory engraved on a ring that they secretly made for the man who rescued them from certain death. Schindler. Oskar Schindler. Most of us, before the movie came out, didn't know who he was. He was an economic opportunist trying to profit off the war. But his eyes were opened to the atrocity that was happening all around him. So he decided to spend his fortune trying to save as many Jews as he possibly could. In the movie, Schindler's List, he weeps at the end when the workers present him with a gift because he realizes that everything he owns, his car, everything, represented another life that he could have saved. It's my favorite scene in the movies when he's standing at the train tracks at the end. This story, I have to tell you, I saw the movie, and I had to be ushered from the seat at the end of the movie. They were sweeping up all the popcorn and everything else, and I was still in my seat, and I was an embarrassment, I think, to everybody that knows me. And I was just weeping so hard, and they actually had to. The guy came up to me. He's like 12, and he's like, "Excuse me, you really have to leave now?" And I got out of the movie theater, and I sat down in the lobby of the movie theater because I just couldn't drive or anything. I was just too much of a mess. And I remember some big tough guy was there with his wife, and he was like, honey, if this is what this movie does to you, I'm not going in. And I turned to him and I said, you have to see it. You have to see it. If you haven't, watch it this weekend. You will be amazed at what the ordinary person can do once his eyes are opened. Another powerful movie is Life is Beautiful. Quite honestly, it had the same effect on me. I got about 3 minutes into this movie and I went, didn't I learn my lesson? The last one, I'm not going to be able to walk after this. This one's about a father and a son in a concentration camp. And the dad, amidst the human horror, convinces his son to hide by telling him it's a big game. You know, whoever hides wins the tank in the end. You don't need a child to understand this. Having a son, however, makes it even more powerful. To be in a situation like that and to be able to handle it is inspirational. When you couple such beauty next to such horror, it is staggering. Now, there's great storytelling in these movies, but that's not what makes them, to me at least, hit so hard. What hits you so hard and what makes them etched in our brains forever is that they are true. The story of the Holocaust is true. I decided here in the last few days that I am going to do something that I have never, ever, ever wanted to do. I'm this summer going to Poland to visit Auschwitz. I'm going to do that before the Restoring Courage event in August. I have to tell you, this whole subject hits me. I'm more worried, I think, about that trip than anything else I think I've ever done. It's the last place on earth I want to go. I want to see the pyramids. I don't think I ever will. I'm not real popular, I hear, in Egypt. It's the last place I want to go. I want to see the pyramids. I want to go to Red Square. I want to go to England. I've never been to England. Auschwitz, not on my list, really. And it's not on my list because I know the story, and I know it's true, and I know that it is, I know what man is capable of. I'm of German descent. My ancestors came over here in the 1800s, but I've always wondered, I mean, with a name like Beck, you know that there's some Germans that were there in the 1930s and 40s, and I've always wondered, did any of them know what was going on? Did any of them try to do anything? That's why I own a copy of Mein Kampf. I bought it in my 30s to read it, to figure out, did the people of Germany know? Yes, they did. It is so very clear. Very clear. By the time Hitler became Chancellor of the Third Reich in 1933, Mein Kampf outsold the Bible. We're seeing that again. Do you know that in Turkey recently, an inexpensive version of Mein Kampf became a bestseller, sold more than 100,000 copies in 2 months? I don't care what you charge for that book. Do you think in America we could charge a dime and it would sell 100,000 copies in 2 months? Really? When you read that book, it's very clear. Kill Jews. Period. They could pass it out for free, and I don't think we could pass out 100,000 copies, I would hope, in America. The hate that emerged in the 1930s, as it emerged, most people turned a blind eye. I truly believe in their heart of hearts they knew, but they did not want to see it. They chose not to stare evil straight in the eye, and it only made things worse. It was easier for them, I think, at the time, but it became much harder, I hope, as time went on. Even Oskar Schindler was happy to get rich off the Nazis and enjoyed increased status at first. But once he woke up and faced it, it changed his whole life. He would never again be able to look at any possession without thinking of the evil that needlessly killed so many. 70 years later, I believe the world is beginning to find itself in a similar situation. And we have a choice right now, and it's an easy choice. The same hatred is emerging. From the shadows, it is coming out again. And once again, the fingers are beginning to point to Israel, to the Jew. And again, for some reason, even here in America, we are turning a blind eye. There were a few awake last time. And there was all kinds of excuses. This time, there is no excuse. We have electronic global television. We can see what the people in the Middle East are saying as they chant, "Kill the Jew." And we have history to say to us, don't take those people lightly. If they say we're going to wipe out a whole race of people, they usually do. My goal on this program, what time I have left here, is to make sure that I can shake up enough people, shake you awake. Do you know what you will be like when it is tough to do something? This is an encyclopedia among the righteous of the nations. These are the names of the people who helped save a Jew. Look at the Netherlands. Look at France, Belgium, Poland. But this is everybody else. This one volume, here's America. Germany. It's easy to stand up now. You could put a yard sign now and scare the monsters back into the shadows. It only gets tougher. It only gets tougher as it has in the past. I'll explain what this is in 3 different languages. All you really need to know on this is you help a Jew and you'll be shot. The Oskar Schindlers of the world knew that they were putting their life on the line. But it didn't matter to them because they also knew that staring this evil in the face and doing nothing just to live another day was a far worse punishment than anything the Nazis could dish out. They changed the course of the world, and in doing so, they gave fellow human beings profound hope in not a sea but an ocean of darkness. We must be, as they were, the righteous among the nations. But I don't know if that's something that a lot of people just stumble into. You have to fix yourself first. You may not understand exactly how, in your little slice of your world, you make a difference. But I promise you, you make a difference. I promise you. If you just be who you're supposed to be, not who you've allowed yourself to become, you will make a difference. And he who saves a single life saves the entire world. Tonight, we're going to introduce you to some amazing people. People who are alive because of one reason: courage. People like Christine, who lived underground, lived in a sewer with her family when she was 8 years old. She's here she's here with her husband, who was saved by Oskar Schindler. You're going to meet 2 sisters who were saved because a family hid them in an attic. You will meet people who risked everything to save people, like the son of a Spanish diplomat who saved thousands of Jews in France by granting them visas to escape. You will hear their stories, and I hope find your way and your place in the world when we come back. Tonight, there is this is a show where we're going to need 2 hours. There is a concerted effort around the world to diminish or deny the Holocaust, and when this generation is gone, No one will be there to look you in the eye and say, I was there. When this generation passes, people like Ahmadinejad, who diminish it bit by bit, become stronger. Today, I am joined by survivors, people who were children when they lived through it. They lived through the Holocaust. I want to introduce you to Christine Heger. Karen, she survived 14 months living underground in a sewer in Poland. Christine's husband, Marion, is also a survivor. He was saved by Oskar Schindler. Ruth Backner was hidden by nuns living in a convent. We have, you know what? Let me start with first Christine and Marion, and just spend a couple of seconds with you first, and then we'll introduce everybody else that is here. I heard your story about the green sweater and living in a sewer for 14 months when you were eight years old.
Yeah.
And I cannot imagine what your parents went through. What are your recollections of living first in the sewer?
I remember everything because, you know, this is so shocking that experience like this you don't forget. And it was, I remember the night that we came to the sewer. My father pushed me because I was afraid to go. It was darkness and terrible noise of falling water. It was as pewter.
I want to show the picture. Can you put the picture? This is you standing at the sewer cover.
Yes.
Where, do we have it?
Yes.
Standing at the sewer cover, it's coming. But this is you going back and seeing this.
This is 3 years ago when I went first time to Lvov to visit.
And that's you standing by the sewer cover. That's where your father said, get down in that hole.
No. This is where the place that we came out after the liberation.
All right.
Yes. When we went in, it was from a block in the ghetto that my father and two other people, they dig a tunnel to get to the sewer. And the entrance to the tunnel and the noise of the water, it was so terrible. I will never forget. I even, sometimes, you know, I have a dream that I wake up with the fear. And it was a terrible experience.
The person who saved your family was a thief. He
was a small thief before he found, you know, small things. He was in prison a few times, but then he was working for the sewer department in Lvov. And my father, when he was digging from the from ghetto, he was digging the entrance to the sewer, he met him. Because he and other two, they were walking, checking if everything is okay in the sewer, and they met my father.
You remember him bringing you to a place where you could see daylight just a little bit.
Yes, because after a few months when we were sitting there, we never saw a daylight, and I got depressed, and I didn't want to talk to anybody and to eat. And Soha, this is the man who saved us, when he brought us food, he was coming every day and bringing us food. He didn't walk, he crawled. And he took me to a space, he put me up, and he said, look at the light. You in few little time, you have to be patient, but you will see the light, you will live outside like everybody else. And then he brought me up, and it was really, for me, it was a medicine. I started to be a normal kid.
Your husband, Marion, was, your family saved by Oskar Schindler?
Well, not my family, myself and my mother, basically. And why he saved it is because before we went to the ghetto, Oskar Schindler used to live close by, next building on street Straszewskiego 7, and we used to live Straszewskiego 9. And one of his friends used to live in our apartment. So he was coming quite often, and my mother spoke perfect German, and she served him tea and everything else. So that's how we tend to know each other. We weren't on the Schindler's List.
Right.
However, after that, when we went to the ghetto, and then with liquidation of ghetto, and my mother and myself were sent to concentration camp, labor camp, the same what you saw on Schindler's List, what happened. And thanks to him, we managed to get out because he somehow bribed the guard, or actually said that my mother will bribe the guard, and we left the Płaszów.
Your families, was there ever talk afterwards where was everyone else? Why are there only so few? Where is everyone? Because your parents were old enough to have friends, and were they all Jewish? Or did your parents not look at the society they were living in and saying, what happened to people?
Well, they lived basically among themselves, among the Jews.
But they still were part of a society that they didn't have to be friends. I mean, I don't have friends in, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a state. Well, let me use New Hampshire. I don't have a lot of friends in New Hampshire, any friends that I know of in New Hampshire. But I'm still part of the same society. If New Hampshire all of a sudden started putting, killing people en masse, I would say, well, what happened? Or if I went up to New Hampshire and they were trying to, kill people like me, I would still say, well, what happened to the people of America? Can anybody relate to that? Can anybody talk about that?
You have to remember that we live in Poland, and Poland, it was very anti-Semitic, and it was very, very difficult to find somebody who will help you, even among the friends. My parents, they have friends, not Jews, but nobody came, and give a hand to help. By coincidence, we found Socha.
Back in just a second. Dr. Mordecai Paldial is a Holocaust survivor and author of a book that was just given to me, I think 2 weeks ago, by a friend. It is The Righteous Among the Nations. It is Rescuers of Jews During the Holocaust. It is amazing. There are 2 other books that I want you to look up. The Girl in the Green Sweater and Defying the Tide. These are stories of guests who are with us today. Also, Ruth Backner was hidden by nuns living in a convent, and Ruth is with us, and we're going to talk to her. And Mordecai. And Mordecai, you put together this book where you look, first of all, you're a survivor. You were snuck out in the middle of the night as a child. And your rescuers told you were, because you were in the woods, that keep looking up because you're looking for Tarzan, right?
Yes, because the fact that I was Jewish was kept secret from my parents while we were wandering from one place to another in France, in occupied France. And when things got very tough and we had to leave before the Germans caught up to us, and we came to that frontier area, and my mother was referred to that priest, Simon Gallet, and he organized our secret passage in Switzerland. And I asked my parents and these 2 Frenchmen who accompanied us, why are we walking in the middle of the night in a wooded area to nowhere? What's the purpose of this? It's bedtime. And they said, shh, it's a secret. But look up to the trees. We're taking you to meet Tarzan.
Wow.
He's going to jump out from one of the trees. And I was very excited by that.
When you started compiling the righteous among the nations. Did you find anything that brought all of them together? Did you see anything that was a common thread?
The only common thread that I could find among them, because we have a problem. These people come from different walks of life, different backgrounds. Some were more tolerant, some were less tolerant, some were hedonists and only minding their own business like Oskar Schindler. What happened? They were suddenly challenged. In front of them stood a Jew or several Jews, looking in their eyes, pleading to have an opportunity just to stay alive. All they wanted, I want to live. Someone had decided that they have no right to live. And so these people, there was this eye contact. And what happened at that moment was a transformation, just like what happened at Oskar Schindler. These Jewish workers of him, who made it possible for him to have such a good life. Suddenly he learned that they were going to be taken away from him and destroyed. And something in him rebelled, and he said, well, that's not possible. They have a right to live. And therefore, I'm going to do whatever I can do. So there is that, I would say it's a mystery, that there is something in the human constitution which can cause you, just like Leopold Socha, who has also a very unpropitious background. He said, these people, I'm going to help as much as I can. And when you ask these righteous, and I had an opportunity to ask many of them, what caused you to risk your life? Because that's the thing. The question why there were not many others. The Germans threatened anyone who as much as dared to get involved in this with the death penalty. And they said, the answer that these righteous said, it was the most natural thing to do.
But I think what I'm trying to get across to you is, you don't want to get to that point, to where it's dangerous to have to make when this happens. Ruth, this was your father's?
Yes, my father's original star that we had to wear. I had to wear one. I would go to school with that star on and holding a book. And that's how I went to school. And then when the decree came in Belgium to say no Jews in school anymore, I couldn't go to school again. But you know something? I am here, and so were my parents and my brother, because of a righteous Gentile, because he saved our lives, okay? And he had maybe 100, 200 people working for him. And I say if he had 10 or 15 more, he would have saved more. Now, he put himself into jeopardy to do what he did, and I am so forever grateful. And I feel now is the time for us to do what he did for me, because the situation all over the world is terrible, and we have to help.
Back in just a minute. I want to tell you a quick abbreviated version of the story. It was June of 1940. The next guest's father had a choice to make, and he had to issue thousands of visas and make the decision, am I going to help Jews escape across the border into Spain and into Portugal so they have a chance to live or not? His country said no. He said yes. Felipe Proper's father is a righteous among the nations honoree. Why did your dad do that? Because he lost everything, did he not?
He put his job on the line, and he taught us, my sister and I, to do the same thing when we grew up. Because he was a man who had values. He was a man who believed that those values had to be upheld. And he did it largely because he wouldn't have known how not to do it.
I said this morning on the radio that in the end, I want my children to say of me that I would not sit down and be quiet. I would do the right thing. And in the end, to me as a dad, that's what matters. Is that the lesson that you learned about your father? What was the most important lesson you learned from him?
I learned, first of all, the importance of having values, the importance of taking life from a long-term point of view and not from a quarterly point of view, the importance of holding to one's belief. My father in 1940 was only 45 years old, and I was 10, so I remember a little bit. And I remember very well when some German people came to the then office of the Spanish embassy in Bordeaux, where they fled because the government of France was in Bordeaux about to collapse. And he told those Germans, and I was quite amazed to hear that, he said, "You have not won this war, and you will win this war only when your troops will be marching in the streets of London." And everybody started laughing at that time because that would obviously never happen for those people who really believed in an Allied victory.
Back in just a second.
But it cost him his job.
I want to introduce you to two sisters, Sally and Miriam, who are here. Survived 12 out of 15. Survived. You survived in an attic together. Why did the person who hid you in an attic do it?
He went to find us, and when he found us, he tried to help us without getting more involved. But it was clear that we needed more help, and he was persuaded by my mother to have a good talk with his wife and that she would cooperate. And because she was very afraid, and she did not have the connection to my family that he did. He did it out of sheer attachment. He was bonded to my family, and he felt that he called us his Jews. And he had to do whatever he could for his Jews because they had done what they could for him when he was an orphan child. And so now he did his best, but he needed his wife's cooperation. She was not so enthused about the project. She told me it was very dangerous, which I knew. And my mother came up with a creative answer.
Go ahead.
She promised her all her jewels. And
did he take them?
Oh, yes. They needed them. They were poor people.
Yeah.
How were they going to take care of 15 people without having some means?
Yeah.
Yes.
Reha, why did they save you? Why your family?
The person's was Maria Nickel, a housewife who was appalled at what was happening to Germany. And she had a very, very positive experience working for Jews. And she loved being with them. She made up her mind that she would try to help a Jew in need. She saw what was being done to the Jews in Berlin. And she looked, and she found my mother, Ruth.
She actually followed your mom. And did your mom turn around at one point and say, "What are you doing, lady? You're following me," right?
She was looking, and my mother, who looked very, very non-Jewish, very Aryan, or was heavily pregnant with me, going to and from work, and she spotted my mother, and this was very strange to her, the way my mother looked. And so she approached my mother after following her for several days. And she said she wanted to help, and my mother was petrified.
Back in just a second. Beck.com/Israel. Find out how you can get involved. Thank you to Yad Vashem for making this program possible. From New York, good night, America.